Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. Today on the Yankee and the Brit, we're going to keep grading each team division by division. And today we're going to do the AFC East. And we'll start with those AFC East champs, the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills, one of my playoff sweethearts last year. They let me down in the AFC Championship game, but let's just get over that. I've given them a B plus. I quite like the way they've attacked the draft. They've taken two risky players to fix quite an important position for them. So Gregory Rousseau and Carlos Boogie Basham, two defensive ends. And when you looked at the Bills, you were thinking they weren't able to get to Patrick Mahomes. And as the Buccaneers proved, if you're able to get to Patrick Mahomes, you can beat the Chiefs. So they thought, right, let's just draft two guys who might be able to go get him. Gregory Rousseau, absolutely freakish guy, bags of potential to cause problems in like unconventional ways. And Boogie Basham, who was a personal favorite of mine when we were talking mock drafts and stuff. I had him going in the first round. He's definitely a first round talent. He just doesn't have the consistency on show to be a first round talent. But in my eyes, they've both gone to a place where they're going to get trained up well to play that position. So Sean McDermott is a guy you want to hand those kind of players over to, those kind of freakish guys, and he'll find a way to make them work in that division.
All right. I really like the draft. I'm giving them a B, but with the caveat that if this was 25 other teams, I'd have gave it a C or a C minus. But the only reason why is because of the team Buffalo already has, because some of the players are projects, some of them are a little bit of reaches, but they're exactly what they need in positions that they can develop, and they have the time to develop them. And I think a lot of these guys are very talented who can develop. And I'm just going to drop, and I like Basham. I actually Gregory Rousseau and Basham, I think were great picks. You get the right coach, developmental guys who within a year or so, and this year will contribute, but within a year or so, will be fighting for starting positions. But my favorite pick of their whole draft falls at number 213. And Wild Goose, cornerback, Wisconsin. I know people do not know who he is. Again, as a Badger fan, I'm just going to let you guys in on a little secret here. Diamond in the rough because he is a tough player who gets coached well. He sticks to the hip of the guy he's covering, and you give him a year or two to actually learn the NFL game, and you got yourself a starter in the 6th round.
Yeah, definitely. Ricard Wild Goose, number one. What a great name. He's great in a press man coverage kind of guy. Like you feel like he'd be able to play that kind of play, maybe take a few snaps in the slot. Obviously, it's important to have depth at cornerback. We've spoke about this on the podcast before, but this guy, when you look at him, you think, let's grade potential. And they've gone to a place like the AFC East is a great place to go if you're a defensive player with little kinks to work out. You've got Sean McDermott, Brian Flores, obviously Bill Belichick as well, now Robert Saleh. Now that it's a great place to go if you're a guy who's looking to develop their game, which is why when they take any of these guys, you look at them and you think, yep, that works. And that's why it's a B plus. That's why it's a B plus for me, because it can work. I like Wild Goose as well, and I'm glad that a Badgers fan has told me that it's a good pick. I am surprised they didn't pick a top cornerback off the board. Like they were there for the Gregory Rousseau pick, for example, like in the end of the 1st round, they could have definitely taken a top cornerback, but at the same time, defensive line was also a need. And they probably took my two personal favorite guys that not many people were talking about in Boogie Basham and Marquise Stevenson.
I was going to get to him. Yeah.
I texted you the night before he was picked, and I was like, oh, he's going to the Bills. He's got, or whatever I said. I was like, he's going to the Bills. He's going to the Bills. And the guy is electric. He is so fast. I was thinking he could go a bit higher. I thought he was maybe like a 4th, 5th, 6th round wide receiver. And the guy is an absolute weapon. And in that offense, that high octane offense, he's going to fit really well. Don't be surprised if there's a lot of production in year one.
Yeah, it always helps when you're on on the opposite side of Stefan Diggs. But I really like the fact that they stocked up on offensive linemen too.
Yeah, definitely. They saw that the Chiefs kind of fell apart, and they said, "Let's get some depth offensive linemen, and not let that be the thing that, railroads us." Again, I would have personally not known much about Ricard Wildgoose. I have seen some tape on him and think like, oh, he's a good player, but I would have taken one of the top corners instead of like Spencer Brown or Tommy Doyle. Like, instead of adding loads of depth, I would have taken a corner. But again, I like it. They saw what happened to the Chiefs.
It always boils down to, like, we're sitting here like everybody else making these guesses where these coaches already see what they have there too. So maybe they already have a couple guys they believe in that they've been developing that you and I just don't know about yet.
Yeah, and of course, and free agency's still around. Like, it's not over. We're going to go talk about that later on with some other teams in another video. I think we'll talk about free agency a bit more. But there are guys still out there that the Bills can take if they want to and say, we're going for the Super Bowl this year. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, Bills Mafia. If you know guys on your team who you think can step up in those corner roles or other roles, let us know. We always love to learn more about other teams and follow guys we don't know. And the Bills Mafia just always makes me smile because they're a classy group. So if you do something to piss them off, instead of berating you on social media, they donate to your charity. Like, I love these guys. I love that they jump through tables like they're WWE wrestlers. They do crazy shit. They have a great time. And just for Bills Mafia, it's great to see you have something to cheer for, because you had some years back with Jim Kelly, but any millennials, you ain't seen any great years of the Bills. They're such a good fan base. I just love to see them having a really good team to cheer for right now.
Yeah,
even though your star receiver took a shot at my team this week.
And of course, if you do give us one of those players and they turn out to have an absolutely awesome season in the comments, then of course we'll shout you out at the end of the season saying, hey, this guy told us. You might even be a guest on the show if the Bills go and win the Super Bowl. And now to move on to a team that definitely had a really good draft. I can't see how anybody thinks they didn't have a good draft. It's the Miami Dolphins, who I give an A.
Okay, so I was borderline on they might have had the best draft. I mean, we've talked about it. Go watch other videos so you can see who we said had the best draft. But they're right up there with those other teams. And it was really hard for me to go who had the better draft. But I think Miami crushed it. I think they crushed it. You give Jalen Waddle the two of me, and you talked in previous videos. Wow, this whole giving somebody you played with in college is pretty smart now, because you don't have to build chemistry. And we've watched before where a really good quarterback and a really good receiver just never seem to figure it out together. It's rare, but it happens. You don't have to worry about that. Jalen Phillips was a guy I would not have cried if the Vikings would have drafted. If he can stay healthy, he is the best pass rusher in this draft. And I'm not even just going to keep going through everything, but Hunter Long, also Boston College tight end. I think they did everything they could to make Tua succeed. And as we said before, it's now time for Tua to prove the guy, because if not, going into next year and into 23, you have enough ammunition to make a move for a different quarterback. So you built your team up great. If Tua is the guy, you just load it even more. And if he's not, you got a great team to go get a Russell Wilson, maybe.
Yeah, and I agree with you with Jalen Waddle. The reason I've given it an A instead of an A+ is because, in my personal view, Devontae Smith would be a better wide receiver, but and still has the Bama connection. But Jalen Waddle has been compared to Tyreek Hill. Incredibly good player. There's that Bama connection. He gets big plays all over the field, whether it's off a bubble screen or a go route. You can go either way with him. They're probably a bit gutted that Chase and Pitts were both off the board. Like, you maybe thought they could get one of them. But they're doing what a lot of analysts have been saying, and that's building a receiving core like you would build a basketball team. So you have So in a basketball team, you have the passer, the big defender at the rim, you have the 3-point shooter, you have like the big play guy, and they're starting to do that with their wide receiving core, where every wide receiver has a different function. Whereas, like, say my team, Dallas, they've just got 3 number 1 big receivers that all do the same or very similar jobs. And you can build it in a totally different way, where you can get a guy like Waddle who's going to stretch the field, and Devontae Parker who's their big number 1 receiver kind of guy.
And I had said this before, I had Chase as the number 1 receiver, but it would not, and I like Devontae Smith, but it would not shock me if Jalen Waddle ends up being the best receiver out of this draft class.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me either. And Zayvon Hollins, I thought, was an interesting pick. I'm surprised they picked him over Morik, but Morik had some injury issues. The guy's got great hands. He can definitely go into one-on-one coverage as a safety as well. And he's got really quick feet on the blitz. I was watching some tape earlier, and he just stepped around the guy, dived right at his ankles, stepped around him, and then went and got the running back straight after. And I thought that was pretty impressive.
He's a lot like Harrison Smith, and I don't want to compare you to a future Hall of Famer, but he plays the same exact way, where you can do anything with him because his athletic ability and his intelligence allows it.
Yeah, and he's got really great tackling technique as well, which I sometimes think is missing in the NFL. It's one of the things that I think when me and my dad sit and watch the NFL, we watch the tackles and we're like, if they just brought a rugby player in and taught them how to tackle around the ankles sometimes, then that, I know you're trying to hit for possession all the time, but sometimes it's good to see a guy who just has good tackle technique, where big guys
and they can't practice
and they take the ankles. They don't practice with full pads.
Can't practice. Yeah, I mean, a couple times a year they're allowed to now. I don't remember if it's 6 or what. There's a rule, but you still don't want your guys blasting each other. So they're not even. The problem is back in the day, these OTAs that guys aren't showing up to was when they would do all the tackling drills and stuff like that. They no longer can. So guys are coming out of college trying to tackle with their shoulder, which doesn't work in the NFL. Smart guys get it fast.
Yeah, and it's just, if you wrap a guy around the ankles, he's going down. You don't need to go for a turnover every single play. If you wrap a guy around the ankles, he's going down. And then Liam Eichenberg, really good offensive lineman, good value to trade up. Doesn't pop off your screen. Like, you don't look at him and think, wow, what a player, like some of the other offensive linemen, but he can do everything. And as we spoke about in another video, if you want to go watch them, he's from Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is offensive line university.
Yeah, I like linemen who come out of Notre Dame, Alabama, Wisconsin, things like that. And if Liam's not the most British name in the draft, there you go. So that's your guy.
Yep.
There you go.
I really like the draft. I think it's a great example to people of how to get so much capital from trading guys away and turning that into incredible team building. And I can't see a way, unless Tua bombs, then I can't see a way that their team building's been poor.
I'm not a hater or a lover of Tua. He was one of the weird ones for me coming out. I wasn't sure what to think of him. You know what I mean? Because it's Alabama, and like Jalen Hurts did so well there. We saw, we can list guys. But I love the fact, too, that they're giving him every opportunity. And I love when a team takes late round offensive linemen and develop them. And I love that they took a running back, too, because that's just special teams. That maybe he's your third running back or something. But if you've ever watched a team who has bad special teams, it can actually lose them a game. Field position, tackling, lanes, giving up touchdowns. I just love when they use late round picks almost as undrafted free agents you don't have to negotiate for.
Yeah, of course. And I just think it's a great example of building up a team, and they've got some real depth there, and you're going to find out if Tua's the guy this year. And it's nice to see NFL teams giving the guys a chance, because there's been many guys who've got success so quickly that now any quarterback coming into the NFL is expected to succeed in their first year, when 5, 6, 7 years ago, that's not was expected to happen. So it's nice to see that they've given them the actual chance to be good by giving him this many weapons.
Yeah, and a lot of like you're seeing it more and more. Like, let's load this quarterback up with weapons. Of just let's draft offensive line. If he's our guy, we will fix our defense later, which I kind of think is what the Jets were doing, which I really liked. Like, let's give Zach Wilson. And there's another really famous top quarterback who's been with a team who doesn't seem to get any help anyway. So, but I think the Dolphins did a really good job. And I just think that I'm really excited, which I haven't said maybe in my lifetime, to watch this team play.
I'm excited to see how the Dolphins team works out because there's so many, they've done so much drafting. If they're successful, it means that a lot of college kids have been successful, you know, and that's really good.
And it would kind of nice to see a coach from the Belichick tree succeed.
I don't know about that, but it would be interesting to see a guy from the Belichick.
I'm just saying, like,
succeed.
You see all these guys, Matt Patricia. Yeah. I think Josh McDaniels could be a head coach. I just think Denver was his first stop. But you see a lot of guys leave there, Romeo Cornell, and it doesn't work out for them. And I really think that Miami scored with a coach, scored with a draft. They worked the last offseason like nobody worked an offseason that I can remember. And when you give up, was it Jeremy Tunsil? Was that it? Yeah. And you end up with 4 first-round draft picks over the whole thing. You, my friends, pieces and a lot of respect. And that is just, man.
And talking about the Belichick tree, let's go over to the guy himself, Bill Belichick, over at New England. Now,
are you grading this on the draft or his whole offseason?
On the draft. I wasn't sure what to make of his...
That's what I did.
I wasn't sure what to make of this draft. On other teams, I've kind of drafted with the whole offseason in mind, but with this one, I think it's a bit difficult. I wasn't really sure what to make with this draft because it was an insanely New England draft. Like, they've not gone and got the star, overhyped players. They've just been really solid. I've given them a B+.
Okay, I gave them a B, and then if we were doing the whole offseason, I would have gave them an A.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
I like their first 2 picks a ton. I mean, I like their first 3 picks, but I really like their first 2 picks a ton because you let Mac Jones fall to you. You didn't move up. There's arguments that he could have been even the 3rd best quarterback in the draft. There's a lot of people who say that he's the most pro-ready guy to come in. And even if he doesn't start, because I'm not sure he'll start, I think Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick will get the best of him. And I'm getting irritated when people are like, oh, he's in the mold of Tom Brady. No, he's not. Tom Brady didn't even look half as good as Mac Jones looks coming out of college.
Yeah, 100%. Tom Brady couldn't even make it out of the Michigan first team.
The comparison to Matt Ryan is probably fair, and maybe Kirk Cousins, but it seems that Mac Jones may throw a little bit better of a ball when the play breaks down. But, like, those are better comparisons. Quit comparing him to Brady. Brady's the GOAT, but Brady did not even look close to this. Coming out of college, that's why he was a 6th-round pick. And I'm going to let you talk about their 2nd-round pick because that was your guy.
That was my guy. I'm still surprised that Christian Barmore went that late. The guy he's the best defensive interior in the draft, and there are a lot of teams that needed defensive interior players. A lot of teams who were poor against the run last season. In one of my mock drafts, I actually had the Cowboys missing out on both corners and picking Christian Barmore at 10, which 10's probably over the top. PFF have him as the 12th player on their big board, so 10 wouldn't have been too bad. But I think he's actually really happy with this. This is a great place for him to go. Like, he does have some serious polishing up to do. He's the best defensive interior in this draft, in not a great defensive interior draft, maybe. Like that could be it. But the guy has some serious polishing up to do, and what a place to go to do it. I love this pick. Mac Jones, it was good for them to fall to him. Barmore is the best pick of their draft by quite a long way in my eyes.
And before the Vikings signed Delvin Tomlinson in the offseason to be that 3 technique, I really
believe he didn't go. I can't believe he didn't go to the Giants. I can't believe that they traded back and he was still there.
14.
Yeah, but they traded back.
Right. No, I'm saying if the
and he was
Vikings
still
wouldn't have
there.
traded,
Yeah.
if the Vikings wouldn't have signed Delvin Tomlinson away from them, I thought that Barrymore could have been the Vikings pick at 14.
Yeah.
I thought that he was a chance he could have went to the Giants to make up for it. I didn't mind your pick with the Cowboys. So all my point is at the pick 38, you traded up with Cincinnati and you got the best D tackle maybe in the draft.
That's a
and
great trade up as well.
Drafts like shit usually.
If you're going to trade up, then that is the point to trade up. That's my only issue with it. The fact that he's gone to Bill Belichick and Bill Belichick isn't known for his drafting, that kind of scares me a little for going to the wall of him. So many teams passed up on him. I did say he should go to the Cowboys before because I also had Micah Parsons going before. So that's
right.
And like the Connors were taking and Micah Parsons as
but I didn't have a problem.
But the Giants, but the Giants make so much sense, especially after drafting back to go to 20. And we'll talk about that in another video. I love Christian Barrymore, and Ronnie Perkins is another great value pick. Stellar production off limited snaps. He's got 262 snaps at college level. That's crazy. But he has all of his production at that level. I think that's in his junior year, 262 snaps. But he has crazy amounts of production from that. He's got the physical traits that the NFL loves. He fights to get to the ball. You know, when you see a guy like just see the ball and he's just like, I'm going to run through you whether you like it or not, like to the offensive lineman. He just tries to run through a guy. I really like that. And if the production is real, then he's a steal in the draft.
Yeah, I thought their top three, and I said 2 and then said 3. I even like 3. I think it was great. Yeah. Where I get a little head scratching is at 4, but I didn't question it because Belichick seems to do this like just conveyor line of running backs, and he figures it out. He finds guys. But again, that's another question where I'm like, if you just find guys, why are you spending a 4th round pick on it? But then I had to think like he filled most of his needs in free agency.
Yeah, they're a solid team. They can just, from that point, they could just draft whoever they want because the only needs that they had were really like a certain QB, which they've gone Mac Jones. And then like, I wouldn't have hated them taking another one of those wide receivers. Like it was a deep wide receiver class. I wouldn't have hated doing that over a running back, but 4th round, that's probably a good place to take a running back. And this guy was a top running back at college as well. It's not like, they've just picked someone garbage. I love McCrone as a pick, by the way. 20 years old, really quick at linebacker, and got a lot of potential to get better. And again, great place for the guy to go in New England.
Yeah, and Trey Nix, their 7th round wide receiver out of UCF, was going to be one of the top touted undrafted free agents if you didn't draft him there. So good pick because you need wide receiver help, and you didn't have to overpay for an undrafted free agent. You got great tight ends, so give some other help to the quarterback out there. It'll probably be more help to Mac Jones moving forward because Cam Newton's not known for being the best passer in the world, and he loves his tight ends. But I still think Cam Newton starts the year. I think New England did a great job. And I think because of their free agent class, they killed it this offseason.
Yeah, they smashed their offseason. Like after, it wasn't even a poor season last year. Like they didn't even have a bad season. That's why they were picking in 15. It was just like, it was middle of the road just before.
Plus they get all those COVID opt-outs back.
Yeah, exactly. They should be a good team this year. I hate them so much. Just a final word on Mac Jones. I really do think he'll be sitting this year. He's really, really intelligent. And this is apparently one of the most intricate drop back defenses. So maybe offenses. So maybe give him some time to get used to that and he'll pick it up really quickly and they'll go back into dissecting defense.
I hate to be a dick, but I think Cam gets even worse this year. I think Cam hit his athletic wall and I think they'll start him sooner than we think. But I hope Cam proves me wrong because I love watching Cam play when he's right.
I want Cam Newton to be good, even if it is in New England. Shall we move on to the final team in the AFC East, and that is the New York Jets. Now, they were, again, like the Miami Dolphins, they had a lot of draft capital, and they did a lot with it. I love their play. Shall we start on the number 2 overall pick?
Well,
Zach.
And first thing I'm going to say is they get an A+ from me, hands down.
A from me.
So I love their draft. I mean, I could keep going, but for me, picks, their first 2 picks, their second pick, their 4th round pick, and their 5th round pick just scored out the park for me.
Yeah, definitely. Zach Wilson, I've said, could be the guy who busts the most in the NFL out of this QB class, not because of his talent, because he's going to the Jets. But it does seem like on paper, the Jets are turning it around and starting to really that he's got help. They've got him the best offensive guard in the draft, hands down. And that left side of the offensive line now with Becton and Elijah Vera Tucker, that's exciting. That's just run left again. Oh, tricked you. We're going to pass right. They've finally got they've got something set up on that team now for it to be successful.
Yeah, and Zach Wilson doesn't have to worry about his blind side, which is awesome. Vera Tucker, that even though they traded with my team, and it worked out great for the Vikings, even though I had to sweat it out. Yeah, that was a great trade. It was definitely perfect for both teams. You know me, I was pounding the table for Elijah Moore in the 1st round. Love Elijah Moore, so thought that was a great pick. And I think I said this before, there was 3 top running backs in the top tier, and then it fell off. And they got the 3rd best running back in this draft in the 4th round, which is another thing. Running backs, tight ends. Well, that's a quarterback's best friend right there. And I think that Sherwood was the safety out of Auburn. I had him as a 3rd round pick. So the fact that they got him in the 5th, I just love their draft. And I love the fact that they, at the beginning of this draft, said, we are going to do everything we can to make this work for Zach Wilson, who I think is the quarterback with the most upside in this draft, even above 100%. Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I don't think many people would. I don't think many people would argue with that. It's just whether the Jets can bring it out of him.
Right.
I reserve judgment on it until I see them play. But it seems like they're going in the right direction. The Elijah Vera Tucker trade could be seen as you've paid a bit too much for guys just a guard, but guard is where they needed the position, and Elijah Vera Tucker was the best guard, and they couldn't let him fall to the Cardinals at 16, so they had to trade there. The Cardinals is where he, and they still
had 10 picks.
Yeah, exactly. They had the ammunition to go get him. So it's a really good really good play for them. I'm thinking day 1, day 2, they just got their splash players who Zach Wilson's going to take the field in. Looks like they're going to be throwing bombs all the time. It's going to be electrifying. They're going to make some Jets fans happy for once, which is exciting for them. I love the pick of Elijah Moore. That's a really exciting pick for them. And then after that, they start going into, right, well, now we've got those splash plays at the top. Let's say day 3 and 4, let's just take safeties, cornerbacks. They've got a defensive interior in there. They've just gone right, well, let's just throw all of the rest of our lottery tickets at the secondary and hope something sticks, and that's a great play for them in my personal view as well.
Yeah, no, I love the draft. I'm excited to see where the Jets go. Now, we all know they're not going to come and light the league on fire next year, but the Jets fans have hope.
Yeah, let's just all say, especially in this division where you've got Flores, McDermott, and Belichick coming at your rookie quarterback, then chances are you're still going to go. You're not going to do great in your actual
You'll be
division.
in the top 5-10 next year again.
Yeah, which when you're rebuilding a team, that's totally fine. You'd rather be garbage if you're not going to win, if you're trying to rebuild a team. That means they can get the top right tackle in the draft next year or the top weapon in the draft next year. They've got the ability to do whatever they want. In other divisions, they might have a chance, but in the division they're currently in, with it being defensive and they have a rookie quarterback, they are going to struggle, in my personal opinion.
And then my last thing about the trade, I just wanted to say, when you have 2 first-round picks because you traded away Adams, your safety, and make a move. Go for it, man. You traded away a top safety. go make your move, get a guy that makes you feel better about that trade. And I know the Vikings scored with those 2 third-round picks because they turned into Kellen Mond and the offensive guard Wyatt, but you weren't going to draft Kelvin Mond anyway. So Wyatt's really the guy you missed on, but you got Vera Tucker. So are you upset?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like you could have got 2 offensive linemen, but also they've got the best.
Right.
They've got, like, when you're rebuilding the team. Exactly.
It's like tackle if you need him to.
Yeah, it's like you don't necessarily, like, they didn't actually need a tackle. Like, that's the other point. What's the guy's name? Becton. Becton is a great left tackle. You've got your left tackle sorted. So just go get the best guard and then worry about right tackle next year when you're drafting in the top, at least the top 10, I think, is where the Jets are going to be drafting next year. So it'd be a good season if they're not drafting in the top 10, I feel.
Well, I guess the summary on this one is that we think all 4 teams in the AFC East did a really good job.
Yeah, that is a great draft class for the AFC East. Very exciting place to be for all very different reasons as well.
Yeah. And every team, me and you said, Patriots crushed the offseason if you include everything. Miami did everything they needed to do for Tua and set themselves up for the future. And the rebuild of the Jets just looks like it's moving in the right direction. And we don't have to say much about Buffalo because they were balling.
They were ready to go anyway. They're ready to go anyway. They've kept all of their good players. They've added some exciting defensive ends who, under Sean McDermott, are going to be exciting, and a wide receiver who I think is going to be it. Like, he could genuinely be the next Stephon Diggs in my eyes.
He might be faster than Stephon Diggs. Maybe not, but he might.
He was picked in the same round as Stephon Diggs and Antonio Brown, wasn't he? Round 6, and it's like he could easily be those.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, but and it could be him. So Buffalo are exciting as well. Buffalo's division for me. Thank you guys for listening to our talk about the AFC East.
Yes, guys, check us out on all the podcasting platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and stay tuned because we're going to finish up our division by division grading every team. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.